So how? Tell me how you met Mom.
Well, I went to a funeral home one night. Uncle Howard's father had passed away. I went down to it was a Stan Carl funeral home at that time, I guess. Stan Carl Roasters, I'm not sure if they amalgamated later. But anyway, we went down there and for visitation. Howard's father was there, and of course Bob and Maybelle were there, and Mom was a sister to Maybelle, and she was there. And afterwards, she invited Maybelle invited us all back to Bob and Maybelle's for coffee, and I was invited to go there. So that's where we met, and I was quite impressed with her, and I called her up a couple of weeks after that, I guess, and asked her if she'd like to go out, and I think she turned me down twice because she was too busy. And I thought, well,
Well, do I remember? Did you actually just show up at her place one time
not without calling.
without call? Okay,
No,
I
not
thought.
without calling.
Okay,
But anyway, she said no. Really, she, it was of course she was a school teacher in Ingersoll, and that's where she lived. She had
right.
an apartment in Ingersoll. So finally, about the third time, she said, "Oh, you call back, and maybe we can work out a time." So we did, and that was just in the time that they were building 401. So it was all graded and smooth. They hadn't paved yet, but anyway, the roads were dry and everything. We drove that night. We drove from Ingersoll up to Dorchester or something on 401, and then come back to number two highway and went for lunch and went to her place. She always put on. She lived upstairs in Wilson. People, an elderly lady of the name of Wilson had a big brick house near the United Church in Ingersoll. So we had. She always made cheese sandwiches and coffee and one thing and another. And, so anyway, that was how we met, and we started going out, and then that was in about February, I think, and that she and her cousin, the Gibson girl from Tillsonburg, had a trip
Mm-hmm.
planned for Europe for 60 days. So anyway, I told her that I was gonna. She gave me all the addresses of the places they were going to go, and I believe it or not, I wrote her a letter every other day. I wrote her 30 letters, and I had to post them so many days
Right,
ahead
right.
on airmail, and she got every one of them.
Really?
Yeah, and then she came back home in August. Well, she ran out of money, and I even had to go and send. I forget how I did it now. I had to send her more money so she could
Oh,
finish her
really?
trip. And then she was home about the last day or two in August, and of course we got dating again and more serious, and so we talked about getting married, and then her dad passed away in October, the first of
Right.
October. So she was alone with her mother on weekends at there on Pine Street. So then we decided to get married on the 20th of December. That was the day her mother and dad had been
Oh,
married. And it was the first day of Christmas holidays, and so she thought that she wouldn't lose any school by that. So we got married on the 20th, Bob and Maybelle's, and went to Niagara Falls. I had reservations in Niagara Falls. And so we went for, we were back home, I think, on the 24th because we wanted to be home for Randy for Christmas time.
right.
So we were back home on the 24th. So, and then she went on and taught school till the end of June, and then she decided not to teach after that. She did teach, but just went on a temporary basis,
Right. Right.
supply teacher, and she was a very good friend of the principal at Victor Memorial in Ingersoll. We used to call her. She taught a lot, really. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
next year we fixed the house over in '59, and she taught. I'd say almost half the time that year. just saying that you came along in 1960. So, August 1960.
So what are some of your favorite memories?
Well, I think the new kids came along and we, got big enough to travel. And of course, Mom wanted to go to Virginia. About every 2 years we went, for quite a long time. And then when we got, later on in the 70s, when we started traveling, it was 77, we went out west. And I think 78, we went to the East Coast, maybe in 79 to Florida. And then we went to Sault Ste. Marie one year. But I think those times traveling with family is your best time.
I think they were ours. I think that's what we remember. What would you want your grandkids to know?
Well, I would want them to know that about me or about anything. I think it's definitely great that they need to be brought up in church. And I think that I'm really blessed that way. What makes families stick together. And I'm just sort of hard for me right now.
Right.
But I'm just so thankful, Terry, that you just took the way of the ministry. People in North Park and down there, they just love you so much.
What do you remember about neighbors growing up?
Oh, well, we all neighbors worked together, and everybody cut their grain with the grain binder, and then we thrashed with a thrashing machine. Of course, we had the thrashing machine in 1946. I think my dad bought it, and we thrashed for several years. And then we had a cutting box too, and we all helped each other fill silo and thrash. And then I got a farm forum going on the 8th from our place to Golden one time. And we ran it for 2 or 3 years, and there was a radio program that came on about 8:30 at night or 8 o'clock at night. It was on for an hour or something. So anyway, we'd get together with the neighbors and sit and listen to that program, and then have a social time afterwards and one thing and another. But no, neighbors were.
So you'd listen to the radio together.
Yeah. And then we'd have a discussion afterwards. It was on agriculture. They called it the Farm Forum, and this was for television. Whoever came on, it was in the early. Maybe the later 40s. I think it would be. Yeah, maybe after the war, when it ended.
Okay. So who was the first in the area to get a TV?
The first person to get a TV?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but I never got a TV till 1958. Fall of 57, I got a TV. And I just bought a used one. I think it cost me $50 or something or other.
Should be a lot then.
It was a lot. Yeah. And that was the first TV I ever had, and it was black and white. And I remember after Ruth passed away, before Mom and I were married, my mother and Dad came up, and kept house for us for a year. And of course, we used to go to chiropractic every Thursday night down there, and my stepmother Hazel, she always had to be out at 5 to 9 because highway patrol come out at 9 o'clock. And we couldn't miss highway patrol.
Right.
We watched it every Thursday night. Yeah, it was a great show. I wish they'd run some reruns on it again. But then color television, you know, I can't tell you for sure when it came in. Sometime in the 60s, I guess,
Right.
color television. And when Mom and I got married, we got her mother and dad's TV. It was a cabinet one that stood in the corner, and
Right.
we had that for 4 or 5 years, I guess, until color televisions came in.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you, that you would go to, before you had a TV, you'd go watch TV at other places?
We used to go. We used to go down to Dorson. See, Doris and Howard were married in. They were married in the 24th of May in. Oh dear, was it 56 or 57? I'm not sure. Anyway, we would go down there on Sunday nights and go down there and have coffee and watch the Lawrence Welk show. That was the big thing.
Right.
Lawrence Welk show, yeah. But as far as going to Neighbors, I don't think we went to Neighbors to watch TV, but we used to go to Doris. Doris and Howard, you know, and us, we spent an awful lot of time
Right.
together. Yeah, you remember that. We were always pretty close and had Christmas together. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost every Sunday afternoon it was.
Yeah.
They were at our play, or
yeah, one or
we
the other.
hoped that we would, yeah, or we bug you to go there.
Or we'd go over and get the pony and Howard's
Yeah.
cart and ride the ponies back to West Lane or something or other. Yeah, life has changed a lot.
Tell me about harvest time and people helping others.
Well, we would cut our grain with the old grain binder.
Right.
We finally used to use 3 horses on the grain binder, and then we started putting short tongue on the binder and used the tractor, and we'd cut and stoop the grain, and then you know, it needs to set about 10 days to cure out, and then we'd start and thrash, and neighbor would call up and he'd want the team and wagon or maybe just one man to pitch or something, depending on how far he had to draw the grain from the back of the farm up to the separator. But yeah, all the neighbors helped each other, and then when it come to sow filling, it was the same. Maybe 2 people who had corn binders would put their teams on corn binders and cut the corn one day and let it lay and then put it in the silo the next day.
And then you'd go help other people too?
Oh yeah, yeah, we'd go and help other. I know John Hunsley and Bob Fusters and my dad, they always cut corn for the people down our end of the road. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna have to